Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Erin and I started this channel because I want to help people like myself who suffer with an eating disorder or any other mental illness, really, to establish a regular journaling practice that can help them heal the way my practice helped me. Let me start off by saying I'm not a mental health professional, so anything that you hear me talk about in my videos is speaking from personal experience. This is episode 5 in the series Starting Your Journaling Practice, and today we're talking about something that I've gotten quite excited about actually during research for this video. I want to mention a couple of things before we get right into it. First of all, nobody's perfect, so let's just put that out there. That's why I call this video Practice Makes Possible. Another thing to mention, please, whatever you do, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That might come up in our conversation later. Every day is a new opportunity for you to practice journaling so that you can make it a priority and make it become a habit. The goal is for you to do this regularly so that down the road, it feels like your day's not complete unless you've sat down with your journal. So I've read that you can make anything a habit if you do it for 21 days straight. I've also read that that's true if you do it for 30 days straight. So I'm not here to tell you what the science is because frankly, I don't know how long it's going to take you to make this a habit. I can tell you that I recently read something in an old article in Forbes magazine that definitely rings true for me anyway, and I wanted to share it with you guys. I'll share the link to the original article in the description for this video so that you can go and check it out in its entirety if you like to. But today we're going to go through 3 of the main kind of pieces that I got from this article that I found really applicable to myself and how my journaling practice has evolved. There are 3 main phases to forming a habit. The first one is the honeymoon phase. The second one is the fight through. And the third is second nature. Let's start with the honeymoon phase because that's where everyone wants to start, right? That's the first phase, so it makes sense. The honeymoon phase is the easy period. It's where you're really super excited and motivated about something new that you found that you're really connected to, so you find it really easy to do it every day. And you might be experiencing that now if you've recently started journaling. You might find that sitting down with your journal is really not that hard to do because you're excited and you're really connected with it. You might find this video series that you've been watching really motivating and really inspiring. And so, you're using that as a catalyst to get you to your journal, which is great. But what happens when the honeymoon phase ends? All good things must come to an end, they say. I say that's horse hockey, but it kind of does ring true. When you're forming a habit and doing something that's not easy for you to do or it's completely new and foreign, the honeymoon phase will at some point be challenged, and that's what we call the fight through. This is when inspiration fades and reality starts to set in. This is when you might really struggle to keep going with your practice because old habits will sneak in and they feel comfortable. And so it's really easy to fall back into that. But the key to fighting through is to experience 2 or 3 consecutive victories, we'll call them. Now, the author of this article wrote about 3 really effective strategies for helping them to get through the fight through stage so that they can move into the 3rd stage, which is second nature. The first technique is to recognize. What you've got to do is really tap into yourself, how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and be able to recognize when you're avoiding your journaling practice. In the beginning, you don't have to take it any further than that. Just recognizing that you're avoiding it. So when there comes a day where you've missed your journaling, and you suddenly realize you've missed your journaling, it's really important for you to ask yourself, am I avoiding my journal? For me, I'll sometimes get busy being productive with tasks that are more productive than journaling. And that's the point at which my eating disorder thoughts have kind of taken over and started to convince me that there are other things that I need to be doing that are more important than journaling. Or it might be trying to convince me that I can just put off journaling and I can come back to it later after the productive things are finished. That's not the case. It's a lie. I truly believe that journaling is an important part of my recovery and that I need to make it a priority But as I've mentioned before in other videos, it's not always easy for me either. The second strategy is to then assess your state of mind. So you've recognized that you're maybe avoiding your journal. So you need to take that a little bit deeper and ask yourself, why am I avoiding my journal? It doesn't have to sound like that though. The question could be something like, how will I feel if I journal? Or how will I feel if I don't journal? It's important to bring your emotions into the equation here and really get connected with what it is that's keeping you from something that you want to do because you think that it's going to help you. I want you to remind yourself of the positive feeling that will come with fighting through and actually sitting down with the journal, even if journaling for that day doesn't look like journaling has in the past. The point is you want to get back to the journal and sit down with it so that you can keep that habit forming going. The third technique is life projection. So that's going one step deeper and asking yourself, how will this look for me or feel for me if I continue with my journaling practice on a regular basis, say in 2 years from now, or how will it feel in 5 years from now? It's important to really focus on what it is that you feel was positive when you started with your journaling. Really let yourself connect with your thoughts and your fears and your doubts and work through those. So once you've used those 3 techniques to get you through that fight through stage, you'll move on to stage 3, which is second nature. Second nature feels like you're getting in the groove. It feels like you've hit your stride. When the journaling practice becomes so much a part of your day that it feels incomplete if you go a whole day without doing it. Now it's important to also note here that even then, once it's become second nature, there may be a day that you miss because you're human and these things happen. It's really important not to throw the baby out with the bathwater and just give up on it at this point. A setback in the third phase only means that you need to just take a step back to the second phase and start that fight through phase all over again with those same questions. How will it feel if I journal? How will it feel if I don't journal? How will my life be different in 2 years, 5 years down the road if I keep up with my regular journaling practice? So you can see this is a cycle of events and techniques and things that you can use and do and practice along with your journaling practice to make sure that you make it a habit and keep it a habit. Now let's take a look at some common interruptions, because let's face it, life is full of interruptions. And the biggest one for me has been the discouragement monster. That's what this author calls it, the discouragement monster. Discouragement monster is when you allow negative thoughts to creep into your own mindset, and it will negatively affect the progress of your habit forming activities. You'll know you need to make it some sort of an adjustment if you find thoughts like, this just isn't for me, or I'm just never going to be good at this, creeping into your mindset. Some of those adjustments could be changing your expectations, could mean changing your rituals, could mean changing your nest or where you journal. The goal here is to have a string of successes, which will then lead to the habit formation. I'm going to insert a little note here. There's something that I used to tell my clients in another professional life all the time, and it still rings true to this day, and I'm sure that it would translate into a number of different scenarios, but it's important that you grant yourself the patience that you would give to a good friend. So when you're feeling as though it's time to just give up and throw in the towel, even though you know somewhere inside you that journaling is going to be good for you and it's going to be helpful for you, if you take a moment, take a beat, take a breath, just ask yourself, if my friend came to me and said they really wanted to do this thing and they think it would be really great for them, but they're just no good at it, so they're going to give up, what would you tell that friend? Would you tell them, oh yeah, you're right, it's definitely not for you, you should just forget about it and move on? Probably not. You would probably encourage them to keep trying because you hear them tell you that they know that it is good for them. Common interruption number 2, disruptions. Boy, there are disruptions. Life can throw you a curveball. So those might look like a significant change to your lifestyle, a significant change to your normal routine or habits outside of journaling. And that can have an impact on whether or not you're able to form the habit of journaling. So those can look like vacations. Those can look like holidays and illness, a death in the family, a birth in the family. There's all kinds of things that can disrupt your practice, and you need to be prepared for those and have some tools in your tool belt that you can whip out and use when life throws you a bit of a curveball. Something that you can try if things get disrupted is adjusting the time of day that you're journaling. You could try different journaling activities, so completely different to what you have been doing. Just try something new. See if that gets you back into the groove again, or move locations. So if you've been journaling in your bedroom at night, you could move and do it in your favorite reading chair or outside and on your deck, or whatever the case may be. Just try new things. The third disruption is the seduction of success. This one's a little bit interesting. I find it interesting anyway. So once you've gotten so used to regular journaling and it feels second nature, it can be really easy, as with any habit, for you to slip into this state of mind where you kind of feel like, I've been doing this for a while, I've been doing it regularly, I think I'm good. And so you stop. That may not be very helpful in the long term, because if the journaling practice has been helping you, stopping it might cause you to go back to old habits or to go back to feeling old feelings again. So it's important not to let the goal of forming the habit become the goal. So forming the habit is what we need to do in order to achieve the goal of the long-term healing that you can get from journaling. So the goal is not the habit itself, the goal is the journaling, but we want to make it a habit so that it's easier to reach the goal of the long-term journaling. So it's really important to remember why you're journaling. Remind yourself regularly why you're journaling. You can even write that in your journal regularly so that when you go back and review on days that you're not feeling so great about writing, you might see some of those reminders in past entries, and it will remind you why you're doing this in the first place, and hopefully urge you to do it that day that you're struggling. If any of these things happen in terms of the seduction of success, it's really important for you to, as soon as you realize it's happening, go back to stage 2 again. Start the fight through process again. Get really connected with why you're feeling like you don't need to journal anymore, and assess how you move forward from there. And again, you can use any of the techniques that I've talked about, or I'm sure there's lots of other places on the crazy internet that you can, read other ways and other techniques to reignite the passion and the motivation for journaling. I just want to leave you with one thought in terms of going back to the fight through over and over again and recycling through these 3 stages, and that is that every setback is a brand new chance for success. Just keep that in mind as you're working through this. This is the last video in this series, Starting Your Journaling Practice. If you missed any of the other 4 videos that I've uploaded before this one, feel free to go back and watch them. They're all on the same playlist. Next week, I'll be starting a brand new series that focuses on creativity. I'll be introducing hand lettering to you guys if you've never done it before. We're gonna go right back to the bare bones beginners, and I'm gonna show you how I learned how to hand letter using nothing more than a pencil and a Sharpie. If you want to make sure you don't miss that series, go ahead and click the red subscribe button below so that you'll get notified when I upload the first video for that series. Thank you so much for joining me again today. It's been lovely, and I'll see you in the next series.